One of the leading drugs used in this country from 1850 through 1941 was cannabis. It helps with epilepsy, high blood pressure, stress, pain, and cancer, but for 80 years it hasn't been available to us. I think somebody's keeping a big secret from us here, folks. And I think that secret is now being revealed in a way that causes all of us to think differently about what we've been told and what we've been led to believe. Our next speaker is Carmen Brace. Carmen earned her Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Economics at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and her Master of Science in Agricultural Economics from Ohio State University. She is an amazing woman who's held leadership positions at Campbell Soup, Wrigley, ConAgra Foods, and then after that founded a company called Aclara Research, which provides real-time access to cannabis and hemp consumer insights that impact innovation and marketing strategy. Aclara's survey panel and online community spans consumers and patients across legal markets, identifying the drivers of consumer demand. They link cannabis user insights with consumer goods and healthcare research to solve commercial challenges. Here to share some of her research with us, I just met her this morning. She has a wonderful smile. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Carmen Brace.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Carmen Brace. I am the founder of Aclara Research, and I am very happy to be here to talk with you today about the intersection of cannabis and improvement in healthcare outcomes. Before I start, I do want to again just thank you, Josephine, for really nailing the healthcare implications and what we were experiencing across our society for those of us that have a personal or family experience that shows us that the perspective on this plant that we have been shared by the government across decades and decades is completely wrong. And although I do not normally start off my presentations in this way, I feel compelled to share my personal story of this. It was a confluence of personal and professional experiences that made me think about cannabis in a different way. My mother, who has since released the body, suffered from dementia. And after being on 17 different medications and studying the impact of all of the respective side effects that we began to see within my mother, and then associate with the cocktail of pharmaceutical drugs that she was using, I had to think about this in a different way. At the same time that I had a number of inputs that were showing me from a patient standpoint that this product was not about getting high, it was about getting well. And it was a very difficult family discussion that my brother and I had to even bring up the discussion of bringing cannabis to my father, because this was clearly not a word or a category of products that was acceptable in my family. And after 1 year of siblings having the courage to discuss with their 80-year-old father the potential of this product to improve my mother's forgetfulness from the dementia and the series of TIAs, and improve the appetite. Because if any of us have been in a situation where you're watching your family, you're watching your loved one slowly not eat, and slowly, yeah, it's just, again, I don't normally start my discussions this way, but I thank you for this, because it was again, those confluence of events that made me think about this product, my engagement with healthcare professionals to really move this message forward of the impact and the positive impact of this plant on healthcare outcomes, and then relate it to my background within the consumer packaged goods industry to really understand the data and the insights that help us inform product innovation and marketing strategy. But I have to share that with you today. So, as you've heard, I am the founder of Aclara Research. We are a cannabis patient and consumer data company. We have about 20,000 cannabis patients and consumers across the U.S. and legal markets that take surveys on usage and purchase behavior. our clients within the consumer packaged goods and the cannabis industry. I've had the opportunity to partner with a number of organizations within the cannabis industry as well as the CPG industry to move this message forward. This product is significantly disruptive to consumer packaged goods and to healthcare. And these are two very important industries that we have to think about as this product moves forward. Due to the personal experience that I've shared today, we began a series of studies for the public good. So in 2016, we began this work in concert and sharing this with the Illinois State Legislature. I spent my time in Chicago and Sarasota, Florida, around the fact that symptoms, not conditions, were driving usage. You'll see more quantifiable data of this today. The impact of prescription drug usage. 67% of Illinois medical cannabis patients stopped using opioids after using the product. And then finally, the impact of CBD. CBD is clearly taking an increasing share of mind from media in regard to the main reasons that people are using this product: pain, sleep, anxiety, a variety of others that I, as well as my colleagues, will talk with you about today. But it is this data that we'll share with you today. This is a CNE accredited study that I presented at the Marijuana for Medical Professionals conference last year. Again, with an industry that has been very difficult to have the type of research that we need in order to move this message forward. We start with a consumer-centric approach about why people are using the product and how we can understand how to develop better outcomes in regard to that. So within this study, we had several objectives. We wanted to understand need states around patients and consumers, why they were choosing the products, how it changed their purchase behavior, and how they were entering the category via healthcare professionals. We fielded a study across our Clara panel on patients and consumers that were using cannabis or hemp products. This was an online survey, and I will note that the majority of patients and consumers live in adult use markets. We followed that up with a partnership with the Holistic Cannabis Academy, a consortium of holistic healthcare practitioners, to understand how they were thinking about cannabis and CBD products in relation to their patients and clients. Now we'll take a look at the demographics. So this is an understanding of the vitals, how we look at demographics from a U.S. Census standpoint. But I want to direct your attention to two insights here. Number one, 95% of those that took this survey live in adult use markets, so they are freely able to go to a retail location to purchase these products. And then secondly, about 21% are 55 and older. Very, very important here as we think about the average age of the medical cannabis patient in the state of Florida. And then secondly, we asked around purchase route. How was one purchasing the product? Now, again, within this study of primarily adult use markets, almost half of respondents were using cannabis and hemp-derived CBD products. 31% of our respondents were card-carrying patients. I ask you to remember this as we look at the data, because there is somewhat of a bifurcation that has been created by the government when we think of medical markets as well as adult use markets. But what I am here to share with you today is that despite route of purchase access, the driving reasons for usage are very much similar across both groups. So as we think about optimal living, about getting well, not high, this is the message, right? It's not about getting high, it is about getting well. And we talk to our patients and consumers within our survey panel to understand the driving reasons for usage. And across that group of adult use consumers, as well as cannabis patients, again reminding you, the top three reasons are because I have some level of pain, because I have trouble sleeping, and because I have some level of anxiety. Who of us knows someone, or do we personally deal with these three symptoms? Just a raise of hands. This is very instructive, because we don't have to look far, simply to the Centers for CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, as well as the National Institute of Health, to understand the market sizing around these symptoms. Those two organizations, funded by the government, show us that 80 million people have trouble sleeping. 50 million people have chronic pain. 40 million people have some issue around anxiety. Now, of course, we know that many individuals have more than one symptom. So this is not an additive number, but nevertheless, we know that these symptoms impact 100 million Americans. Let us sink that in. 100 million Americans suffer from the top 3 reasons of why people are using plant-based medicine. I cannot help but be reminded of Hippocrates in 400 BC, who said, "Let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food." This dynamic of including cannabis in a proactive healthcare regimen, it's not the only ingredient. As Josephine referenced Mara Gordon a moment ago about the recipes or the ingredients within a cake, it is not the ingredient alone. There are other behaviors, other areas that we want to improve to increase our quality of life. But it is one ingredient that we absolutely must consider. So we continue to talk to consumers around what types of products they were using, considering the types of, we'll use it in cannabinoids as synonymous with ingredients. Cannabidiol, almost 80% of the respondents are using a product that has a high ratio of cannabidiol, whether that be a hemp-derived CBD product or a product derived from what we have previously called marijuana, with a high CBD to THC ratio. And almost half of those respondents are using cannabidiol products daily. This also reminds me of, I think you all will remember when Jamie Lee Curtis started talking about Activia and probiotics. Many of us never knew that gut health or probiotics was an issue until we began to see that level of discussion within our media channels. But now, if you go to CVS or Walgreens, you will find 8-foot sections of products devoted to the microbiome. And I posit to you today that this is the same dynamic that we will see around cannabidiol products within the next 5 years. These not only are they using them daily, but most have been using around for 1 to 5 years. So you begin to see the trends of market adoption. And when these consumers are using these products, they index highly for different forms. Flower is a very important segment that needs to be available for all that use this product. However, when one uses a high cannabidiol product, we use them primarily within topicals, tinctures, and capsules. I myself take a CBD to THC tincture in the morning every day because it alleviates a level of joint pain and creates a longer range of motion for me that allows me to pursue the athletic activities that are important to me. And I use it within my proactive healthcare regimen. And now we'll take a look about product usage and perceived efficacy. So this is there's a level of complexity on this slide, but I'm going to simplify it for you. So if you recall in the beginning, the top 3 reasons that consumers were using, patients and consumers were using the product were for pain, sleep, and anxiety. And we followed up that question with, what products were you using prior to using cannabis? So I will direct your attention to the box, the box outlined in orange and the respective percentages. So for those that were using cannabis or high cannabidiol ratio products for pain, 63% had previously used them or used prescription drugs. 18% had used a vitamin or mineral supplement to alleviate that symptom, and 59% used a previous OTC product. This allows us to see the paths to entry, which we've certainly heard qualitatively today, around why people are seeking out this type of product for usage. After that, we asked the respondents to rate the level of perceived effectiveness of cannabis for these respective conditions. So again, focusing on reducing pain in the second bar, you will see that over 85% of those respondents that were using cannabis or high CBD products or pain say that this product is more effective than all of the traditional categories that they have used in the past. Ladies and gentlemen, this represents disruption. This represents disruption to about $650 billion in traditional categories and retailer traffic patterns across our country. This is one of the dynamics as to why this product has been so slow to reach our general market, but is clearly on the way. And when we think about the level of perceived efficacy over all of these reasons for usage, being at minimum 80%, it gives one cause for pause. It makes us think about how we can, again, include plant-based medicines into a proactive healthcare regimen and improve healthcare outcomes. So finally, we'll talk about the healthcare professional. Now, we've also talked to these patients and consumers about how they became engaged within this category of cannabis products. Overwhelmingly, over 40% said it was a friend or family member. It is the one-on-one conversations that we have within our respective social groups that allows others to change their perspective, to broaden their view of the most persecuted plant that I have ever found within this country. But that is changing, and it changes one conversation at a time. Now, if we think about friend or family member, this level of a grassroots conversation driving the change in category perception. We also want to note that about 14% are coming into this category via a healthcare professional. This prompted our partnerships with the Holistic Cannabis Network to talk to healthcare practitioners that were talking to their patients as well as clients about the usage of cannabis as well as high-ratio cannabidiol products to allay a number of ongoing chronic symptoms. A few details about these healthcare professionals. 29% are adult users of cannabis products, slightly less hemp-derived cannabidiol, 18% patients. The primary groups of healthcare professionals within this survey were nurses and nurse practitioners, dietitians, herbalists, and nutrition coaches. But 90% of those surveyed are recommending these products to their clients. Why are they recommending these products to their clients? Well, again, pain leads the group. When we talk to these respondents or we talk to these healthcare professional respondents around their usage or recommendation of cannabis as well as hemp-derived CBD, the number one reason was for pain. So you will see within this data the need states, the reasons why these healthcare professionals were having these conversations with their patients and clients, and then the respective percentages associated with each product. Pain is a big one, right? We're all aware of the opioid crisis that we have within our country today. In the state of Illinois, we have a 7-point state of emergency opioid action plan. Currently, cannabis is not one of those items. However, after 2 days ago, after signing our adult legislation bill, I think that it is likely to be included. Because when we think about the impact that the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine has indicated that this product has around chronic pain issues, this is one that we all have to consider in a much broader way. So very similar to our previous studies with pharmacists that are active in the cannabis industry, cannabis has a very significant impact on opioid use. Simply within this group of healthcare professionals, over 80% stopped or reduced usage for hemp-derived CBD products and slightly higher for cannabis. Now, again, I will remind you of the study that we did 2 years ago for the around the Illinois State Legislature that indicated that 67% of medical cannabis patients stopped using all opioids. Let that sink in. And it's not simply our research from a consumer behavioral standpoint, but it is synonymous with the Journal of Pain studies conducted at the University of Michigan and a variety of others that we see. The implication of this to the healthcare system, 19% of GDP. Illinois spends $1.8 billion on Medicaid Part D spending. Our studies would indicate that we could decrease that by at least $180 billion. It's 1%, possibly 2%, but nevertheless, as we consider as a country very significant healthcare challenges and our desire to improve healthcare outcomes and decrease costs, we have to consider this as an ingredient within the recipe for success. So today, I want to leave you with 4 things, and the one thing I want you to take away is that when we think about cannabis, it's not about getting high, it is about getting well. This is, when we think about the influx of consumer packaged goods companies, cannabis retailers, those clients that we serve at Clara Research, this is what we're focused on, because it is this message that will expand access, and that prevents people like me from becoming criminals, because they will not let their mother waste away not eating and not remembering who they are. It's something I was willing to do, and I know that there are many people that are willing to do the same. When cannabis products are hired, traditional products and categories are fired. So when we think about the impact of this to traditional retailers, to traditional categories, it's no secret why this has been a slow boat to move forward. But I know as we think about how we can be proactive within our legislative groups, how we can really move this conversation forward within our social networks, this moves well-being forward and is absolutely part of a well-being program. Thirdly, cannabidiol is here to stay. Over half of current users are using this product daily. That sounds like a vitamin supplement to me. That sounds like something that I'm using because I know that it's helping me on an everyday basis. We've heard a number of examples of that today. And then finally, 90% of healthcare practitioners, again, within the Holistic Cannabis Network, this number is not projectable, but are recommending these products to their clients within adult use markets, because anyone can go to those stores and purchase them. And again, I want us to all leave this room by realizing that patients and consumers, there is this split that we have within our social mores, the society, and how we speak about this plant. But the truth is that we are all healthcare consumers. And as healthcare consumers, we are all impacted by pain, sleep, and anxiety. 100 million adults is 40% of US adults, right? So when we think about the market sizing, when we think about the impact of healthcare outcomes, when we think about the big challenging problems that we have as a country, as we think about how to bring healthcare, how to bring down the cost of healthcare, to make sure that everyone has an option to see a doctor and to have options and solutions that are right for them. Cannabis is not the answer, but it is one of the ingredients in a successful recipe to move healthcare outcomes forward. So I thank you very much for your time.
All right, if that doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. Pretty compelling stuff, and you know, it's one thing to hear the anecdotal, but to see it with the facts and the figures, I think, you know, brings a new form of science to this conversation, and something that we haven't seen up to this point. So thank you for founding Aclara and bringing clarity to all this. I have to think that your name was very carefully chosen. It's a big shift. It's a revolution of sorts, and it seems to be a long time in coming. So.